Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And thank you guys once again for joining the 9 Innings podcast hosted by yours truly, Kevin Thompson, founder and CEO of 9i Capital Group. Thank you guys for joining us. As I always say, subscribe to the 9 Innings podcast. As I always say, go and get our book, MLB to CFP, live on Apple and Amazon. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at info@9icapitalgroup.com. Send us your questions, or you can go to the website at www.9icapitalgroup.com. Schedule an appointment, listen to our, or look at our blogs, or listen to our podcast. As you know, we're here to do what? Educate, empower, and engage. Before we do that, go to iTunes, SoundCloud, anywhere you get your podcast, and subscribe to the 9 Innings podcast. Thank you for all your support. Today, I decided to ask ChatGPT some things. And one of my questions was 5 common client questions about recession. Today we're talking to ChatGPT and we're talking recessions. Let's get it. So if you guys have been under a rock, you know that a lot of companies are implementing what we call artificial intelligence, or AI. I know it's scary. It frightens me. We've all seen Terminator. We've all seen the movies where the robots become sentient. Next thing you know, they're telling us that they want to destroy humankind, and boom, everything just goes to hell in a handbasket. We've seen this movie before. So hopefully, I know there's competition out there, but hopefully they'll slow this down to make sure that it's implemented properly. But we know human behavior, it won't be. And then, all hell breaks loose. But you know what? Just be ready. But anyways, that's an aside. But yes, AI is out there. So what does that mean for you as the consumer of this new product and technology? Well, it means that you can ask it questions. You can go on, whether it be Bing. I know Bing's coming out with one. Google may be coming out with one. I know there's ChatGPT and all these other ones. All these companies are coming out with their version of what they call AI, and you can go and ask it questions. It's almost like Google, where you go in and type in a question and it comes out with some answers, but it's more predictive, it's more intuitive. So yeah, it's actually a pretty good technology that will get better. So we decided to go in and ask it some questions. We asked it particularly around recessions. 5 common questions clients ask about recessions to a financial advisor, and what it came up with was pretty intuitive. So the first question was, well, what exactly is a recession? And a recession is a period of economic productivity or contraction, generally characterized by a decline in GDP for at least 2 consecutive quarters. We know that this has happened in the past, right? We know that this has happened in the past recently, but they reclassified what a recession actually was. Even though we had 2 negative quarters of 2 contracting quarters of GDP, they did not classify that as a overall recession because we bounced right back. So although typically you would call that a recession because it is what the definition of recession actually is, they did not classify that as a recession. So therefore, we haven't necessarily been in recession for a long, long time. They are expecting us to start going into a recession later this year in 2023, and there will be some slowing quarters there due to the fact that we have rising interest rates. We're expecting another 25 to 50 basis points next month. So what that means is that these rate hikes will start taking some serious impact. You've already seen some of the impact with the banking crisis. Banks were left over-levered, were left hanging out in long-term bonds, and now they had a huge unrealized loss on their balance sheet. Now, it doesn't mean the banks were bad. It doesn't mean they were wrong. Well, they could be wrong, but it doesn't mean that they are in a bad situation because they can just let those bonds mature and everybody gets their money back. However, If there's one individual that says, you know what, I want to take my money out, and then there's another and there's another, that becomes a problem. So the government comes in, backstops that, makes sure everybody is whole, and no one else moves their money, and then hopefully the banking crisis will subside. So we've seen some people actually we've seen some things in the banking sector that actually come down and quelled in the last several weeks. So, but again, as we know, recession, 2 negative quarters. Typically during a recession, unemployment rates tend to rise. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen unemployment rates go up. We're expecting that, but we haven't seen that. And we haven't seen consumer spending decrease drastically. We have seen consumer spending get a little bit over levered inside of their credits, and the time of payments are getting pushed out on loans. So you're also seeing rising credit card rates and rising interest rates on credit cards, because we all know credit card rates are variable. So that is something that we're seeing right now as well. So those are some of the things that we're talking about. So the question one was, well, what exactly is a recession? We just explained that. Question number 2, how long do recessions typically last? Typically they can vary in length. Some 12 months, 24 months, they all vary. But with some may last us only a few months, others lasting maybe several years. The length of recession depends on various factors, such as severity of the economic downturn, the actions taken by the government, central banks to stimulate the economy, overall health of the global economy. We all know the global economy right now has been hit. India's turning the corner. China has now opened up its economy. So we have some global economies that are actually starting to turn around, but you have some South American economies that have seen massive inflation. So it's all going to be an effort of all of us to get us out of what we're currently in. Question number 3. Well, what can I do to protect my investments during a recession? Great question. During a recession, it is important to have a diversified investment portfolio that includes a mix of stocks, bonds, and other asset classes, like we've always talked about. We've talked about risk tolerance, developing a strategy that appropriately is in line with what your family situation is. We also talked about avoiding panic selling and staying invested during the long term. That's important. We can't allow for the media to push us one way or the other. The media is buying your eyeballs. They are buying your eyeballs. They want those 2 eyeballs on the screen. So they're going to tell you about everything else that doesn't matter. Oh, the market's down 500 points in a day. Oh, the market's down 3%. They'll have CNBC will have, oh, market in crisis with big red letters across the screen because they want to sell advertising. We know that over the long term, a diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds generally performs well. Question number 4. How will a recession affect my job and income? Well, typically during a recession, companies generally cut jobs, right? They want to reduce their cost. It's important to have an emergency fund. I am on that fence, not on the fence, but I'm on that side of the fence where we're talking about 6 months to a year's worth of emergency funds to cover your expenses. It's no longer 3 months. It's no longer 6 months. Why? Because COVID-19 can become COVID-20, and the next thing you know, you're out of work for a year, and now what do? There's no more government money coming out unless they close the economy. So we have to develop a strategy and a budget, a savings plan to prepare for the possibility of a recession. And that allows us to offset any additional things that we don't have, so we don't have to worry about it. I am on a more conservative approach for my clients in regards to having more money on the sidelines, more money in savings, because what do we know? Money doesn't have to have an interest rate. Money provides you safety and time to make decisions. Just because you're not getting 4, 5, 6% in some random fund that's overly aggressive doesn't mean you're missing out. Because when I have my money in a safe asset, I know that that money is going to be there. And that buys me time to make the right decision. Question number 5. Is it a good time to invest during a recession? Absolutely. It could be tempting to sell during a recession. History has shown markets tend to recover over the long term. In fact, some of the best opportunities can rise during a recession when prices are low in general. So we help people find potential investment opportunities, develop strategies that are appropriate for your family situation. That's the importance of this. There's charts, there's graphs about if you miss the best and worst days of the market, you lose out on X percent. We talk to our clients about this all the time. We also bring this to our clients' attention in our quarterly or monthly newsletters. So it's important to understand those concepts and aspects on how markets work. Thank you guys for listening to the 9 Innings podcast hosted by yours truly, Kevin Thompson, founder and CEO of 9i Capital Group. As you know, we're here to do what? Educate, empower, and engage. And today we talked about the recessions, talked about ChatGPT, talked about AI, talked about so there's the 5 common questions clients ask about recessions to their financial advisor. And we asked ChatGPT that particular question. And these are some of the questions it came up with. What exactly is a recession? How long do recessions typically last? What can I do to protect my investments during a recession? How will a recession affect my job and income? Is it a good time to invest during a recession? And as you know, we love AI. We know it's here to stay, but we want to make sure that it is being used in the right way. And that's what environment we're in today. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for supporting. As you know what, subscribe to this channel. Thank you guys for all your support. Stay humble, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.